All right, welcome back to Double Sleeved MTG. I'm Seth.
And I'm Guy.
Today we're going to discuss the potential unbans coming in on what was it, April 22nd is when they're supposed to happen?
That's what I've been told. We got the announcement a couple months back, right before MC Chicago, that they were going to make Commander unban announcements with no bans coming in April. And I believe we just recently got a date that it's going to be April 22nd, I believe, is when they're going to come out with those announcements.
Yes. So what we're looking at is about from the filming of this video 2 weeks from now.
Roughly.
And just to be clear, because I know a lot of people have been saying that, oh, they're gonna ban Ristic Study, and I've heard these rumors. WotC has been very, very clear in saying this is an unban only. They have no intention of banning a card. So it would be a huge surprise if they just turned around and said, no, we're going to ban these cards on the 22nd after they said they're
Well,
not.
they've lied about a lot of stuff, but typically not bans.
I think after the debacle of the previous ban announcement, I don't think they're going to want to stir the pot anymore. I think they're trying to de-escalate things. When they banned Dockside and the,
Oh,
the
previous
last
Commander ban announcement. That makes sense for this Commander channel.
the last
I was
ban
like,
announcement that had a lot of people very, very upset.
well,
Um,
we literally just got a ban announcement last week,
oh,
which is why I was thinking
but
about
it didn't
that.
affect us. It didn't affect us. We still have Breach.
It didn't affect us unless you play Pauper, because now I got to fix three of my Pauper decks.
Well,
However,
hey,
my favorite Pauper deck just got stronger.
I
Ready for
didn't.
Compotron, baby.
Hey, I got some high tides. I'm gonna try some high tides. But
This
anyway,
gives me this gives me an excuse to finally bling out my Tron deck and get those borderless Urza lands. But anyways, that's not why we're here. Y'all came here to hear about CEDH and just Commander in general, potential unbans. I would like
yep,
to caveat this with we're not going to talk about the cards that are never seeing the light of day. You got your Power 9 cards, the Moxes and all of that. You got
yep.
your anti, your conspiracy cards. And then we'll talk about some others that were bans within the last couple of years that just deserve to be there. And then
Yep,
we'll talk about
Nadu.
some that got banned. I was looking at some of the dates on mtgcommander.net, and that'll be linked down in the description below of when these things got banned, and it gives brief descriptions of them. Some of these cards were banned in 2009, 2014, 2013, and I was like, this makes sense because back then they didn't have the tools that we now have access to deal with these cards, which is why they got banned in those times.
Yeah. Well, starting off, let's go ahead and get the ones that are definitely not coming off the list out of the way first.
Would
Uh,
anyone like to take some guesses in the comments on what these are going to be? They're pretty obvious.
Drum
Uh,
roll, please. Um,
So the first one is going to be Gristlebrand.
no, Grizzly B is not coming anywhere. Is not coming anywhere near
I don't,
because
I
just
don't, I don't care what any justification someone tries to give that card. Paying 7 life to draw 7 cards. Sure, it costs what 9 mana, 8 mana. That's very easy to do. It's very easy to cheat in. Pay 1 life with reanimate and get a Gristlebrand back out. You're not getting it.
and do not argue with if you want to argue the point that that attracts a grand unifier is better than Gristlebrand. I have seen that argument more times
Last
than not.
last time I checked, Atraxa doesn't draw you 35 cards, and that's just being
I
conservative.
you would be surprised when I am telling someone Gristlebrand draws your entire deck the moment it comes down. Attracts only gets 10 cards, and not even
Oh,
all 10 cards.
Oh, but Necropotence is a thing. Necropotence gets you an instep. Doesn't.
And Necro
It's not the
Dominance.
same thing.
No, it is not.
Give up on your Gristlebrand.
All right, moving on.
Next is
We know Dockside's not coming back. Flash is not coming back. Nadu, definitely not. Paradox Engine, and sadly, Tolarian Academy is not coming back as much as I want it to.
what do you mean? Sadly, leave it. Give us green players something. We have Cradle. You're not
What?
getting a blue Cradle.
What? Why? Why?
You
Why?
don't need it.
I want
But
blue.
yeah,
I want blue
it,
farm. I want as a blue farm player. I want a Gaia's Cradle.
I'd like to redirect everyone to EDH Top 16, where you can see the recent meta breakdown, pre and post ban, where Blue Farm is the #1 deck in both of them. It doesn't need any more help, and it
Yes,
just
it
got more
does.
help in the last
I
set.
need.
It got
Hey,
two more cards to help it in the last set. It doesn't need more.
the way
Um,
Rogthras is going right now, I need some help. Okay.
Shut your mouth. But speaking on the other ones, as much as I love Dockside, CISA players need it. We love it. We took a freaking blow to the kneecaps when it got banned. I understand why it is banned, and it did make the format a little too homogenous. And I do honestly think good came from it being banned. Once it got banned, it got people to be a little more creative with a lot of the decks. Sure, it handicapped some decks, but it did make people get creative. And some decks kind of evolved from it. Sisay evolved a little bit. Rockthras wasn't seeing the light of day pre-ban, along with a bunch of others.
Yeah.
Another one he mentioned was Flash. We're in a Flash meta. However, those cards are the same cost as the card Flash itself. But for those who don't know who weren't around for CDH in that time frame, Flash is
Oh, never
one in
mind.
a blue for an instant. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sacrifice it and let you pay its mana cost reduced by up to two.
Yep.
Flash Hulk, the turn zero meta is what it used to be back in like what was it 2019. This card got banned in 2020, 2018, 2019 meta of Flash Hulk turn zero format. It was when TNT was the undisputed number one deck because it could do that. Sure, it gave Protein Hulk a life. However, that was one of the most toxic lines of gameplay we had, and the people who are around today don't know how good they have it because
I
they didn't have to deal with that.
actually I was watching a video earlier today, and this guy was talking about CDH is where players go to die when they just want to just rules or turn zero, win the game, blah blah blah. And now what you just said that makes sense because I've never played in the Flash meta. So if you're turn zeroing damn near every deck, I can get why people think CEDH is this turn zero. We don't play anything past turn two, and that's it. So I definitely see why we got to
And
keep cards like Flash out of the format.
well, you got to think about what Flash was playing against back then. Back in 2017 to 2020, CDH wasn't very popular, but the meta was you had like your Urza Lord High Artificer, your Zur the Enchanter. You had the what is that Jund Dragon?
That's
That was a food
Corvold.
chain deck. No, the one before that. It was
Prosh.
made a bunch of Prosh. Yeah, you had Prosh and you had OG Narset. Those were the things playing against Timna Thrasios with Flash Hulk that
Yep.
was getting turn zero wins because of Gemstone Caverns and Rituals. Those decks haven't changed much since then, and some of them don't even exist anymore because they couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And back then, they had even less tools than they do now to deal with Flash. Oh, but we have Force of Will and Force of Negation and Fierce Guardianship. That implies that you went before the Flash Hulk player and had a cheap commander like Rograk, or you mulligan for free interaction, being either Force of Will or Force of Neg was the only two that hit it, and a blue card to pitch to it. So you just essentially mold down to three to counter a single Flash card.
Yeah.
What happens when you counter turn three Flash card, turn four does the same thing,
Yeah.
or start player four does the same thing.
I definitely agree with that. So anyway, we know what's not gonna we have a good idea what's not getting unbanned. Moving on to the things that may deserve a probationary period, similar to what they did with these new popper cards that had just come back into the format, like a 3 month probation period. And I think it would be safe to do these four cards. Starting off, I think Yawgmoth's Bargain. I think I got a squinted eye earlier from Guy when I said Yawgmoth's Bargain might be safe to come off the ban list. Um, but starting us off, Guy, why do you think it can't?
No, I want to hear your argument as to why it should.
My okay, my reasoning behind why I think it could is the fact that it's 1/6 mana. A blue farm is not going to run this. Crick might run this. But at the same time, it says draw a card, pay a life, draw a card. You can, yeah, I guess you could stack the triggers in. You're gonna kill yourself. But you could stack the triggers on top of the Bowmaster punching you in the face. Hmm.
That you can. You're right. It essentially doubles the damage from Bowmasters. However, not every deck plays Orcish Bowmaster. Of course, not every deck will play this card. It's hard to get to, or somewhat hard to get to. There's plenty of black rituals that'll get you there. But I think an Ad Nauseous Rogside deck, or for some reason, or something along that line, could reasonably get there, or a deck that runs a lot of rituals. Dihada doesn't have a problem getting to this card. Stuff like that. Granted, Dihada's not that great of a deck. Shoot me in the comments. I don't care. But I think the caveat to that is pay one life, draw a card. It's 6 mana to get to. You're gonna theoretically be at 30 to 35 life when you get this card out there, assuming you ramped well and just the average pace of a CDH game. But then you're gonna draw 20 to 30 cards, depending on your life total. And some people will try to compare that to Necropotence. However, this card does it. You get these cards at instant speed. Necropotence only comes back at instep as well as it gets rid of your graveyard. Sure, there are shenanigans you can do around the trigger, but this doesn't have that downside other than being 6 more mana. But it's not even like it's 4 black pips. It's only 2.
Yeah. Uh, One other thing I just thought about this. This card is easy would be easier, say, than a Gristlebrand. Reason why we think Gristlebrand will not. I think this card would be easier to interact with than say a Gristlebrand.
Yep, it's
Uh,
easier. It's much easier to counter. And you can't reanimate it.
you can't reanimate it, and it's not a legendary, not a legendary creature, so it's not in your command zone 100% of the time.
Yeah,
So it's just one card in the deck. So that's why I'm saying like it's not a good thing to unban, but I could see it if we decided, oh, let's see what we can do in the format, unban it for 3 months, and if it breaks the format, then ban it again.
yeah.
No questions asked.
Give it,
Um, yeah.
give it a
So
probationary period like they're doing in Pauper. You mentioned before we started this video, I didn't know they were doing a probationary period of those cards.
mhm.
However, I do think it's a good idea.
So
Maybe they did their time. They got good behavior. Let's see if they need to get locked back up.
I just hate to see cardboard this that's acting up. Moving on, one that I didn't really agree with when it got banned be Golos. Different
For those
experience when Golos got banned. What do you think?
for those who don't know, Golos is a 5 mana artifact commander. It's a 3/5. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. For 2 and Wooburg, exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana cost. So it's, from my understanding, it was a flicker style deck that just had a bunch of lands matters and filled it to dead. It was absolutely horrible to play against in casual formats. However, from what I've heard of the CEDH community back then, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Um, it was doing your normal generic 5 color good stuff with a little bit more of a lands matter package. So it was a different variety than what we know today of 5 color good stuff. Like your Golos and your Eska deck aren't going to do the same thing. Um, I think it would be fine to test out in CEDH, but I think the casual players would abuse it again, just like they did before. Sorry, funny story about the Golos. I remember one of our LGS owners built Golos, and then the next day it got banned,
Oh,
and he built it
it's
as a casual level.
it happens to all of us. Um, but one last thing about Golos is the fact that it's colorless. It has a colorless CMC. It might be the fact that it's just okay. This card is just so
So
easy
easy
to
to cast.
play. It's just generic 5 color good stuff. So 5 color blue farm or whatever Essica is now, or in your case, Progenitus. Um, but no, I think Golos would be a probationary card in my opinion. So
And that's more
uh,
of probably for to see what it can do. We got new tools to counteract these things, which is why they're considering unbanning some of them. And I just kind of want to see what it can do. I think it would bring a new light to the 5 color play style of CDH. The caveat to everything we're talking about here is, will the bracket 1 through 4 players abuse it?
well, it'd be more the
Yes.
black bracket three because bracket
Three,
three
three, yeah, 3 and
three
4.
is the only one that can use a game changer.
Okay, yeah, okay. And this card would certainly be a game changer in my opinion. It would be more would the brackets 3 and 4 players abuse it, and I think absolutely they would.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the one that I don't know why we think this one might be a test, but it never got a time, never had its time in EDH, period. We're talking about Lutri, the spellcaster. This is a companion. We all know how companion has shown its ugly head throughout modern and legacy and pioneer and gotten banned. So the companion mechanic has been a mistake. But moving on with Lutri, Lutri is flash. When Lutri, the spell chaser, enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy and target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Its ability is not that great, but the only reason this thing is on the ban list is because it's now Blue Farm has the 101 card, or that always has that eighth card in their hand, with Lutri being in the companion zone uh, for anything that has red or blue or red and blue in their color identity.
So it's really your partner commander decks have those eighth, nine, and 10th cards in their hand because they got the partner commanders and the Lutri. However, Lutri got banned before they errata the companion mechanic, so now you can't just throw it out of the command zone. You have
Yep.
to put a 3 mana investment into it, and in CEDH, that's a lot. In casual, I don't know if they're slinging that many spells to abuse this. Sure, they can do their dual caster lines if they want to. They can copy whatever they want to, but they got to throw a 3 mana investment in there. You essentially have to look at this card as 6 mana to do the thing. And yes, it is a free given in every single blue red X commander deck. But I think the new companion errata makes it not as broken. Will it be powerful? There is no doubt.
Yeah.
However, I do think it could have a probationary test period.
And if I'm not mistaken, the old companion rule, you could cast it directly out of the companion zone. Wasn't that how it used to
Yeah,
be?
yes, it was literally just pay its cost, pay one and hybrid is it, and
Yep.
hybrid is it, and cast it from the companion zone. That's all it was, which is why it was broken back then.
Now it's
Now with the 3 mana tax on there,
and you had to put it in your
and
hand.
it goes to hand, and then you have to cast it. I think it's not as powerful, but it's the ability on the card is good.
Moving on from Lutri, do you want to talk about our last card? This card's kind of a blue Grand Abolisher.
It's not a blue Grand Abolisher. The card we're referring to is a Erayo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that one correctly. It's from
Oh, we're
Kamigawa.
butchering it.
Yeah, it's a Ryo Soratami Ascendant. One of the flip cards from Kamigawa. And I honestly missed that mechanic. One is the reason I put it on here, and two, it what the card actually does. It is a flying 1/1 legendary creature Moonfolk Monk. Whenever the fourth spell of a turn is played, flip Erayo into its other side. That is very easy to do in CEDH. Just cast 4 spells of a turn, and it triggers on everyone's turn to flip
Yes.
over to the other side. Notably, this is one of the cards just turned upside down, so it's not like leaving the battlefield or transforming anything. When it flips, what it does, it transforms into a legendary enchantment. This enchantment says counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn.
So it's Jin
That
Gataxian.
is, it's powerful, but we
Yeah.
have a card that does that. Jenga Taxi. Sure, Jenga
But
Taxi is
Jin
5 mana,
Progress Tyrant is the one.
or yeah, Progress Sign. But it's what, 5, 6 mana?
He's eight, I want to say. So six and two blue.
It's a high mana cost, and I think it only counters the first non-creature spell, if I'm
It
not
no,
mistaken.
it counters the first instant sorcery or artifact
Okay, so it's got a similar
for each
effect.
opponent.
Yeah, okay, so it's got a similar effect. Yeah, because they both say each opponent, even though, but this card obviously says each the first spell, so it
Mhm.
hits everything. That is a humongous tax to be throwing out there on people. I do think it would be unfun and casual, but in CDH, I think it is a cool effect to have to learn to play around.
Yeah. Um, I'll say since maybe I'm crazy, but I would doubt it that somebody be pulling this thing out of their command zone because the moment this thing hits the board,
You're
somebody's
dying.
gonna. I will hard cast a gut shot to kill this thing.
Because think about it. You're casting this and you have it flipped. So let's say someone's already had a decent turn, but even if it is just a couple rocks, it's going to trigger to flip this card. And it
Yep.
flips over into that. Until it flips, it does nothing. It's a vanilla flying 1/1, essentially. But
Yep.
after it flips, it even helps you in counterspell fights because they have to burn their first spell in order to start fighting your counterspells
Yeah.
and stuff
And
like that in order to start countering your spells, which is oppressive. But I think it is a cool thing to learn to play around, especially when we're in a flash speed meta.
yeah.
So you can throw stuff that's not interaction or not instant speed stuff out there potentially if you already have another flash enabler out, like your Flood Caller, your Emergent Zone, your High Fate Trickster.
Yeah.
Um, I also a little biased here. It goes in Sisay. It's a 2 mana blue legendary, but it's a 1/1. Shoot it.
Sisei's number one deck in the format, by the way.
It depends on which numbers you look at.
I was looking at win percentage just got number one.
Hey, look, I'll give it to the people who are throwing up numbers out there. I respect you. However, apparently I've deemed too much respect in our locals, and I haven't put up a single tournament result with Sisay post ban outside of FNM
Uh-huh.
since and it's bad. I have not jumped ship. I'm just having fun with my side chick Rothras, and it's
Maybe
been great.
maybe you should try Deadpool. Everybody's been freaking out about Deadpool. Maybe you should try Deadpool and Sisei.
There's talk about it, but I'm not sold, but I'm also not a brewer. I wait for people to test stuff out, and Sisei is one of those great discords that has a large enough community to do it, and I get
Hmm.
people's input, and then I'll make my decisions based off of that.
All right. Now, do we want to go? Which one do we want to go through here next? Do we want to go through the big dumb stuff and get those out of the way, or do we want to go through the stuff that theoretically we really could see come unbanned, or we hope to see that's healthy, being the good stuff?
We'll give them a teaser. We'll hit the big dumb stuff first.
The big dumb stuff. It is okay. Starting off, biorhythm. This is a bit of a controversial. I mean, I don't know that Rog Thras will play this because that's one of the decks that runs the most creatures with the most Gaia's Cradle effects. So it could theoretically put 8 mana down range and kill every blue farm player and with our 2 or 3 creatures, but hell, blue farm has like 4 or 5 creatures on the board most of the time. But anyway, Biorhythm is a six mana or no 8 mana, so it's 6 and 2 green. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. It is a sorcery. Do we think we safely have this thing off the ban list, or is just I'm gonna get 8 mana with Gaia's Cradle and kill the board?
It's fine to unban. Yeah, we're in a cradle format, but because we're in a cradle format, that means we're also in a high density of creature format. Even your blue farm decks are playing a good amount of creatures, or they typically have a decent board presence. Sure, set the blue farm player's life total to 3, but you also just spent 8 mana to do that, and it didn't get countered in a format with plenty of counter spells.
Fierce negation, fierce guardianship,
Force of
all
Will, Flares,
yeah,
Silence, not silences, Swan Songs, all
yeah.
this stuff. You have tons of counter spells. If this thing resolves, you probably could have done something else and won the game. I don't think this card will. Some people will play around with it, but I don't think it'll be good. And even in casual formats, if you're not playing creatures in a casual format, that's on your deck building choice.
All right. Next up, we have the potential card that will make Leyline of the Guild Pack a $90 card. Calling it now. Foil Leyline of the Guild Pack is gonna be $90 because of this.
I bought mine at $9 and it's already at 30 last time I
Leyline
checked.
of the Guild Pack?
No, the card we're
Oh,
talking about is
oh, the
Coalition Victory.
Coalition Victory. Yeah.
So
Um,
Coalition Victory is this card was made for Sisay so much, in fact, that it has Sisay on the art of the card. It is 3 in Wooburg, and For those of you who watched our video, I like to call this card Convoluted Victory because of what it requires. This is 3 in Wooburg for a sorcery. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. Leyline of the Guild Pact is one of those ley lines that starts on the battlefield. It turns everything into every color that you control, and it also makes your lands every basic land type. So, sure, it's an A plus B combo, but it's 8 mana and 5 of it's Wooburg.
You still need 8 mana plus those two, plus a creature, plus a Leyline of the Guild Pact on the board starting off the game.
This card will never see a deck outside of maybe a fun deck. I messed around with it in Sisse. It's funny. It's not good, but it doesn't belong on the ban list anymore.
And it's also a sorcery, so it gets hit by damn near everything in the form in the counter package of most decks.
If you lose to a coalition victory, there were so many other things that went wrong there that you probably could have stopped.
The next card is Guy's probably the one he wants off the ban list the most.
It is
This
not the
is
one I want off the ban list the most, but it is probably second.
Yeah, this is Prime Time or AKA Primeval Titan. This is 4 and 2 green, a creature giant, trample. Whenever Primeval Titan, I have a hard time not calling him Prime Time all the time.
Modern brain.
Modern Brain. No, this I was playing when this thing was in standard, so it was Prime Time then.
We get it, Boomer.
Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks. You may search your library for two, or excuse me, your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. It's a 6/6. Um, yes, in modern you have your Amulet Titan stuff like this, but I can see guys brain turning. Oh, I get Mistrise Village and I get my Gaia's Cradle. I win.
You're thinking too small, Seth. We have this new siege that is it, and you can choose it's either cons or dragons, whatever the sieges do. But
Yeah.
one of them gives your creatures +1/+0 and haste all creatures, which I'm seriously considering in my Cryptolith decks. The Sisse Discord's already considering it, but this card is going, if it gets unbanned, it will absolutely be tried out in your Rock Thrash builds and probably a lot of other Cradle decks
Hmm.
because of the amount of sheer utility lands that we have. I was looking at my deck list and there, other than non-fetches, sorry, the fetch lands and non-fetchable lands, everything else is utility. Urza Saga, Gaia's Cradle, Deserted Temple, Manamo, Beseiju, you don't really want that on the battlefield, or your Otawara.
No.
Your Talon Gates, your Mistrise Village, stuff like that, and your Emergent Zones. There's so many good utility lands in the format right now that this card would be phenomenal.
Absolutely. I think it would be a powerhouse. I I would say this may be a probationary because a probationary card, if it does come off the ban list, um, Primetime does some scary things.
I'd
Um,
agree with that. I would agree with giving it a probationary period. I do think the card is powerful, even though it is the same caveat we gave to some of these other big dumb stuff is it is 6 mana. However, it is 6 mana for a card that's actually usable in the
yeah.
game.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's 6 mana for a 6/6 trample body that gets you 2 more cards to the battlefield. As
Uh,
well as, and that's just on its enter the battlefield. We haven't gotten to it attacking yet. And it does it again.
I don't think it gets to an attack. I don't think you get to an attack by the time you're presenting a win.
It shouldn't. But people still play a surprisingly lack of creature removal.
It doesn't get to an attack because you hit your Gaia's Cradle and your candelabra on the board go to town.
That means they
Fair
already have a
enough.
candle, which is likely. But
Um,
it shouldn't get to an attack. You probably already have set up around it, but that's Magic Christmas Land sometimes. I
yes.
think on its own, you got a way to cast it, whether that be Cradle or some Growing Rites of Ilmok or some effect of that, or some way to get out 6 mana. You get those 2 lands out, and whether it dies right there or you make it around to it, untapping and attacking, you already got great value out of it. You paid 6 mana to get 2 lands to the battlefield.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say if they it comes ban, just reiterate, prime time would be on the probation. I'd say as a probationary unban if it does get unbanned. Do you want to talk about the next Orcish Bowmaster target?
So this card is not one of the big dumb ones. I think it is just truly weak enough to get unbanned. I never realized it was a 2-1 until you just said that. But Rofellos Llanowar Emissary. This is green green for a 2-1 elf legend, and it
do,
has tap, add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control.
do we know when Rofellos was banned?
It was
What?
banned in 2014. The per mtgcommander.net, Ruffalo's unique ability. Sorry, Ruffalo's is unique in its ability to consistently provide access to 6 mana on turn 3 as a commander, regardless of which cards are played in the rest of the deck. This card is banned for doing too much too fast with minimal deck building restriction. I don't know about you, but playing 3 forests, specifically forests, not 3 green producing lands, 3 forests is a pretty good deck building restriction unless this is your commander or Silvala.
um,
Sure, give Silvala and Yisan a bone. Throw it to them. They need
I,
it.
I, I'm sorry, but I've played against you enough times playing Rog Thras, and 6 mana on turn 3 is just like par for the course.
It
I'd be
really
I'd,
is.
I'd be surprised if I'm sitting there and you don't have 90 mana on turn 3.
Well, not even Rock Thrust. Look at all your other decks that have so many mana rocks that produce that. Sure,
Well,
2 of them got banned that we'll get to later,
yep.
but decks already do that in our format. And in casual, sure, throw the mono green players a bone or a tree, I guess.
A tree. That might
Oh,
work.
wrong. It'll be a powerful card in casual, but outside, but in CEDH, I think it's perfectly fine.
I think cards like Orcish Bowmaster keep this guy in check.
Yes,
Because it's the same. It's this thing's two CMC creature. So about the same time this thing's coming down, a Bowmaster theoretically could be cast the exact same time.
it
And
has summoning
then
sickness, so you gotta wait a turn for it to be
you got to
useful.
wait a turn for it. It's not like add mana because you have this many forests. No, it's tap add mana. So it's
No
not like you
one's.
can.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's not like it has an activated ability like something like what's the mana rock that says all legendaries can tap for any color.
Relic of Legends.
Relic of Legends. See, Relic of Legends gets around the summoning sickness for legendaries to tap for mana. Um, Rathalos does not.
Sure, play your Yavimaya Critical Growth, turn everything into forest. That's cool. But you're already playing that card in a mono green deck, and well, actually, you're not playing that card in a mono green deck. Maybe your 2+ color decks, some people play it.
Yeah,
But no one's tutoring this card from to
but
say
it's
Savala will play it, Yisan will play it, excuse me, whatever that new bear is will play it. But mono green decks in high power games already struggle.
yeah. I don't. I think Rathalos the format has more than caught up to the power that Rathalos can put down.
Like I said, a lot of these cards were banned years ago, 2014, 2009, 2013, 2011, some of them in 2019, a little more
Yeah.
recent. But back then, they didn't have the tools we have now,
No, they did not.
or all the tools. They had the same removal we have now, but they didn't have all the tools.
They didn't have all the same removal. They didn't have Force of Negation. They have,
That's
well, I
not
guess Force
removal, that's
doesn't hit
counterspell.
this.
I'm talking your swords, your lightning bolts, your stuff like that. Sure, they
Okay.
didn't have Orcish Bowmaster.
Yeah. Um, the next card is definitely the King of Feel Bad. We have Sundering Titan. This 8 mana behemoth artifact creature golem. Uh, when Sundering Titan enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, so if you flicker this thing, choose a land of each basic land type and destroy those lands. It is a 7/10.
An 8 mana colorless 7/10. Oh no, it
Hey
goes
Ken,
in every deck.
hey Kennen, just another thing to Kennen to just slap into a deck.
Sure, it is, but look at the lands that are played these days, and it also hits your stuff. It has to hit, if available, one of each type. So if the only island and forest on the board are yours, they're getting blown up.
Yeah.
And it's one for each type. So breeding pool doesn't count for both.
No.
You got to hit your breeding pool and your trop island
Yes.
to hit the
But
island
Ken,
and forest requirements.
but a deck like Kennen would not care because Kennen
No,
has 35 mana rocks and fifteen mana dorks at any given moment.
it doesn't. But does a deck like Kennen care to play this card? Because look at the mana bases in CEDH. There are very few of them
You're gonna
other than dual lands.
you're
Some
gonna
shock
slap
lands
all
don't see
six of
much
my dual
play.
lands?
Sure, that'd be great, but you also just either dumped a Cannon Flip or spent 8 mana.
Yeah.
And that's just in the deck that could most reasonably play this card.
Yes. Um, I don't think there's a lot of decks that want to do it.
I
It's
don't think
it's a
anyone's
feel
sneak
bad.
attacking with Sundering Titan in.
I think it's a feel bad card in decks would be a feel bad card in bracket 3. So that may be
Yes.
why it stays on the ban list, just because it's a feel bad card. But
What would be
it's
hilarious is flipping this thing off of an Itali.
you and your Atali flips. You and your
Every
Atali,
all this stuff's hilarious flipping off of Itali.
everything's just make it funnier by flipping it off of a damn Atali and making someone want to flip the table. Yes, absolutely.
You're probably
Well,
getting shafted out of it too. But yeah, so those are the cards we think are big and dumb enough, minus Rofellos, that they can just come off and they, or potentially could have a probationary period and they won't really affect too much.
what I have one more big dumb one that I want to add.
All
What
right.
about Emrakul Aeon's Torn? Do we
Seth,
think
you
the
just want
big
it because it's an Eldrazi Titan.
no, maybe, but it's a 15 mana. I take an extra turn and have Annihilator 6.
So Emrakul the Aeon's Torn is 15 mana for a 15/15. The spell can't be countered. When you cast this spell, take an extra turn after that. So regardless, you're getting an extra turn for 15 mana, which is
Yeah.
a terrible rate. But the rest of this card, flying protection from spells. Sorry, flying protection from spells that are one or more colors. So you can't remove it. Annihilator 6. When this card attacks, exile 6 permanents the defending player
No,
controls.
no. They have to pick when it comes to Annihilator.
They pick 6 permanents to get exiled while also getting attacked for 15. When
It's okay.
Emrakul the Aeon's Torn is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than
Shuffle.
sorry, when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library. So it's a
Mhm.
shuffle titan as well.
It's a Shuffle Titan.
You only want this because it's an Eldrazi Titan. And
Absolutely.
you have a tentacle fetish.
Yeah. I don't know. Whoa. I do not. No, I do not.
um, However, we do get the meme of it dies to 15 squirrels.
It does.
That's the only upside to this card. It dies to 15 squirrels. But that's not a good
Imagine,
enough justification for that card.
just imagine Bowmaster Wheel of Fortune just to kill an Emrakul.
It's not good enough.
No, it's not.
It's not good
But
enough.
it's funny.
Emrakul's not getting unbanned.
It's probably a good thing it doesn't.
Sure, Emrakul and Dockside both get unbanned. Now you can cast it on turn 3.
All right, we've made you wait long enough. Now let's get into
So,
things that we would actually really like to see come off the ban list, and these are the cards that we think possibly could be safe. There's maybe a couple in here I'm looking at that I don't know about, but anyway,
I
we're
don't
gonna
know.
we're gonna start off with one of the probably more iconic ones. It's had some couple things named after it. It's Channel, two and a
Like
green.
double sleeved MTG.
Ah, we're not Channel Fireball.
But
Or CMC is two green. Till the end of your turn, anytime you could activate a mana ability, you may pay one life. If you do, add one colorless.
if I'm
And
reading it correctly, it's essentially every time you tap a land or use a mana ability of a creature, you may
yeah,
pay one life and produce an additional colorless.
yes, that's what it says.
Okay. And it's the sorcery, so it's a one turn effect, kind of like High Tide is. for
Yes.
2 green. I think it could potentially be safe enough to unban. I'm kind of looking at it as a green high tide. And
Yeah.
reality, sure, you may produce an additional 15 mana. That's a
Yeah.
lot of mana for 15 life in a format where life total is a resource. But hear me out. Just counter the spell.
Just counter the spell. Play counter magic. I don't think any any counter spells on the game changers list.
Yes, the free ones.
They hot take here that you take all the counter magic off of the game changers list just so people can play more counter magic and blow up the things that actually in the game.
You don't even need the free ones. Just play counter spell. Just
It's a
OG
common.
counter spell.
It's a common.
Or play delay. Delay is one of my favorite counter spells.
That not for the reason y'all are thinking.
That's just a cherry on top. If you For those who don't know, look up delay in French, and
I'll leave it at that.
I'm still hunting one, specifically the Ghostbusters edition one. So, but no, just run interaction. I view channel the same way I view high tide, with a little more downside essentially because it's in green. Sure, you're ramping your green decks. This could certainly get abused with like Cradle Farm. But you're essentially getting what, one, two more off your Cradle one taps, and then you got your Crippleth Right decks. You're sure throw Dramatic Reversal in there and double some more mana. But at that point, you're probably going down to like 5 life. You should be winning at that point. And if you have that much mana to trigger channel 15 times, you probably were already in a good spot to win anyways.
Yes,
So it may just be a win more card, or it could just be a very good ritual.
fair enough. So
Notably, at sorcery speed.
so we're saying that channel has a good chance of maybe being unbanned on the 22nd. All right.
Caveat, we don't know for certain.
No, we do not.
Our speculations.
This is all speculation. We are not advising you to go buy any cards. This is all our guesses and predictions.
Except for French delay and sell it to me. That's not on the ban list. French foil. It's gotta be foil.
It's got to be foil. It's got to be
Next
foil.
card is one that during last year there was a whole fiasco about people making a separate CEDH ban list. This was one of the cards on that list. Fastbond is 1 green for an enchantment. You may put as many land cards as you want each turn. Sorry. You may play as many land cards as you want each turn. Fastbond deals 1 damage to you for every land beyond the first one played in a single turn.
This is essential. What's the
Exploration.
exploration? This is a super exploration
Yes.
with a downside.
Yeah, exploration gives you one more land. There's other stuff like a Zeus, AC, Dryad, not Dryad, Dryad of the
Elysian
Enchanted,
Groves.
Dryad of the Elysian Grove. That gives you extra land drops, and of course those
Yep.
cost more mana, but they have other effects as well. Some of them like the Dryad and
Yep.
AC. But with the amount of lands that are run in CDH mainly, they're usually 30, or you're looking at typically anywhere between 25 to 30 lands, maybe 32 lands. And outside of turn one, it's not going to be that effective. Turn one, turn two, maybe. Not going to be that effective. Now, let's think about it for your lower bracket decks. If you're playing this, your deck was already built to abuse land drops. Because think about every time you've played against someone and they played an exploration or an explore or something that was supposed to ramp them a lot of mana, or I think it's burgeoning is the one that you can play a land every time an opponent plays a land.
Yes.
And after the first turn rotation, they're out of lands. Sure, they just got ramped 2 turns ahead,
I think
but it's not as detrimental as people think it's going to be
I
unless your
think
deck was already built to abuse lands.
I think the only deck that could potentially abuse this the most is a deck like Glarb, because Glarb gets to play lands off the top of their library.
That is a good note.
Um,
Garb could definitely
so
get some use out of it.
Glarb could see it, and then if it chains enough lands off the top of his library, Sure,
It,
you got it,
it,
buddy.
it ramps it. It goes great in Glarb for that reason alone. And maybe if you have another green top deck player deck, I don't know of any other one other than Glarb. Sure, you can play your reality chip and um, whatever equip it essentially onto
Yeah.
a creature, and then you can play your lands. But I don't think it's going to get abused.
No.
It might get one or two more.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fastbond could maybe is maybe safe. Um,
As well as it's very easy to counter.
yeah, it's another enchantment. Hey, mental misstep. You're good.
So
Um,
next up is a very controversial one.
the Blue Farm players rejoice if this thing comes back because we just got an upgrade to our intuition.
So did everyone, though.
Yes, so did everybody that plays intuition.
No, so did
Um,
everyone who plays blue.
the card in question here is Gifts Ungiven. This is
Oh, I was
a
talking about Hullbreacher.
Oh, I was talking about Gifts Ungiven. That's the next thing on your list
Is it?
under Fastbond.
Oh, it is. Yeah, never mind. Gifts and given. Yeah, everyone who plays blue still. Yeah.
That's why I was saying intuition.
I was like,
Um,
what is he talking about?
Gifts Ungiven is a three and a blue instant. Search your library for up to four cards with different names. Reveal them. Target opponent chooses two of those cards. Put two of those cards into your graveyard, and then the rest into your hand. So you're getting two of the cards that you want into your hand, and then two go to your graveyard. Okay. I mean, intuition is you get three cards, one goes to your hand, and two go to the graveyard for one less mana. So you're paying one mana per card search.
They're very comparable cards.
Yes. Um, I think maybe I've heard arguments where Gifts Ungiven is they see it as like now this is too good because now you just have a more short up breach line or a more short up because you have that extra card in your hand. Now you pretty much you can go get your entire combo or everything you need in those four cards
It makes
to
your breach or reanimator packages a little more coherent because
yeah, a
you're
little
not
bit better.
you got one more card.
But this thing is four mana, and I just notoriously blue farms and your breach lines, so your rock. I mean, your rock threat or rock size and things like that. They don't like high CMC cards. Yes, you have Necropotence, but Necropotence is usually a cast Necropotence, draw a whole bunch of cards, win the game.
Necro is your game plan at that point.
Yes. Gifts Ungiven, having more high CMC cards can hinder you doing your Necropotence line because you hit that four.
You
That
mean your
really,
Nas.
yes, excuse me. Do your ad nos and then hit Gifts Ungiven off the top can hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
And to my knowledge, because obviously this unban would affect the entirety of the commander format. To my knowledge, intuition isn't even played in casual format, so it's really
no.
just a card for us. And when was maybe this is just a me thing, but when was the last time someone cast an intuition and you actually feared for losing the game because you
All the
didn't?
time.
Apparently, you're not keeping interaction. Granted, not everyone has interaction every time. I've definitely lost my fair share of games to intuition. However, what usually happens is the player who cast the intuition had waited for someone else to jam for it.
Mhm.
Everyone already burnt their interaction and they saw their window. Yes, this gives them another opportunity to do that, but at a higher cost of mana, it's usually less effective, and it's going to be something that people are already looking out for. I personally am not terrified of intuition. I understand it's a powerful card. I
I
understand getting 50-50, essentially a better this is a better intuition would be great for those decks who play the breach piles, but I don't
yep.
think it would be the end of the world.
No, I think I mean, frankly, before I started playing CEDH, I didn't even know intuition was a card before that.
Right.
Before I started playing CEDH, but I think Gifts Ungiven is it's safe. Do you even know when it was banned? When was it banned?
Gifts Ungiven was banned in 2009 before they got all these good counter spells. So let me read it.
Just j-
Gifts low blue investment makes it a splashable. Sorry, Gifts low blue investment makes it splashable, and the instant speed means you can use it at the most opportune time with lower chance for countering or interaction. The ability to tutor for two combo pieces and two ways to recur them generally makes it a one card game ender, and even in the most casual play is a double tutor. Right. However, we have more counter spells now.
well,
Card was banned
also,
in 2009.
just to give you some context, guy, here's you a little bit of trivia. Do you know when the first Commander product was made?
Wasn't it 2015, 2014?
No, it was 2010. No, I think it was 2011. Was the
Oh,
first Commander product that Wizards of the Coast released. So this thing was was banned before Commander was technically a recognized format from because this was banned. Remember, this was the rules committee. This was not Wizards of the Coast banning a card.
yeah. This card was printed in 2004 and banned in 2009.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation where Gifts Ungiven could definitely come off the ban list. If it breaks the format again, yes, whatever, ban it again. But it's a cheap enough card right now. You could pick one up for
For
not a
like
whole lot.
cents. Borderless ones for 60 cents.
Yes, I mean, yes, it'll be probably a $10, $15 card when it gets unbanned, but it's been printed enough times and it's not on the reserve list. So you don't I think having a gifts ungiven in the format, it may bring here's a positive note. It could bring people that want to run their breach lines or things like that. They may still have to proxy an LED, but they don't have to now have a proxy for an intuition and all these other things because Savines, Underworld Breach, those are two and Brain Freeze are cheap cards. They're not really expensive cards.
Relative. Relatively cheap. Cheap to us doesn't mean same as cheap to someone, but
They,
they're not
well,
reserve list prices.
they're
I
not
do
$50 cards.
Yeah, I would say that Gifts Ungiven also allows for proxyless budget breach to happen
Yes.
better because you can still breach with a Lotus pedal. It just takes
Yes.
more steps. You can breach with a grinding station. It just takes more steps. So proxyless budget breach, Gifts Ungiven enables that a lot better.
Yes. I think that would be another good case for unbanning gifts ungiven. Okay, moving on to a card that I think may be a little bit more controversial.
Yeah.
Um, and this might be the second coming of a Dockside if it came back.
Yeah, if they're not both in the format at the same time. The card referring to is Hullbreacher. For those of you who weren't around for its very short life of printed in November 2020, banned in July of 2021, this card did not see its first birthday. Yeah.
This
Hullbreacher
is
is three and a blue for a 3/2 with flash. So it's part of the Oppo cycle.
opposition
If an
agent.
Yeah, the opposition agent cycle. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token, and they don't draw that card. So it's kind of like Notion Thief, but you just get a treasure token, they don't draw that card. The reason I would like to see this card in the ban is sure it helps out your blue farm, but it helps out every deck that's in blue. It's like Dockside. If you play blue, you play this card. But we are in such a Ristic and Mystic and Esper heavy meta that it will hopefully alleviate some of that or punish them a little bit. Yes, card draw is much better than mana production. I am more terrified of a Ristic Study than I am my Smothering Tithe. However, I still respect both cards.
Yes.
I think Hullbreacher will help against the Ristic meta.
And I agree. I completely agree with that. Um, I just will be devil's advocate here. It could present a net negative if this thing gets unbanned. But again, it does get a little old when we're sitting at a table and there's three Ristic studies and each player's got 35 cards in their hand and we're sitting here going to time and everybody's scared to push for a win. Um, but again, if the caveat to this thing, or another thing, if this thing gets unbanned, is that I think you would see more Wheel of Fortunes and Windfalls and Time Twisters and all these extra cards that say everybody discard their hand. I'm gonna draw seven cards and get 28 treasures or
Uh,
21 treasures.
21. So that used to be a deck when this card was legal. It used to be called Opus Thief. It ran the Narsets, the Notion Thieves, the Hullbreachers, and it played all the wheels you had, or most of the wheels you had access to.
Yeah.
And it's what Blue Farm used to be. Yes, this card will make Blue Farm better. Of course it will. But every blue deck will be running it just like every blue deck would run Dockside, which this
Yeah.
one probably honestly belongs in the probationary unbans
Yeah.
section. But we need something to counteract the Ristic meta, and they're not going to ban anything in August, sorry, in April. But something to counteract it would be a good unban or
Yes.
potentially.
Okay. Next up, we have the. I think this died for or got caught for someone else's sins. Uh, Jeweled Lotus. I don't think I really have to read this card, but I will nonetheless. Jeweled Lotus is the commander version of a Black Lotus. It is a zero costed artifact that it taps for 3 mana of one color only to cast your commander.
If second.
And you had to
Um,
sack it. Excuse me. You had to sacrifice it and it gets three mana. Um, JLo, or we call it JLo if you play CEDH, that's the nickname for it. But Jeweled Lotus, it's not as scary as everybody thinks it is. If anything, this card there's a case for this card opening up the format. It lets decks like Talion and some of the
Itali, Proms,
Some of these
Ikras.
decks with bigger commanders. Hey, actually, the new dragons that are big, and there's some of the dragons that are actually kind of fun. Like some you'll see, or what's the Esper one, or not Esper one, but the Jeskai one that you have,
Shiko.
Shiko.
Uh, the Flicker Dragons, all the new dragons, they're such high CMC commanders. It kind of not locks them out of form, but makes them so much worse because you can't play them quickly. They can't
No,
keep up with the Kinnons, the Thrasioses, the Timnas.
yeah, I'll definitely say, and I think you alluded to it. This is kind of a double. The benefit of this ban had kind of a double-edged sword. It 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 had a it limited the format on what could be played competitively, and I'm talking about CDH. I'm not talking about casual, but it banning Jewel Lotus limited the commanders that were legal or not legal, but competitively played.
But
But
viable.
it did pull people into playing other commanders that were lower CMCs that did not necessarily see play before.
Yes, I will say one good thing that came of this ban was it showed how many decks actually didn't need JLo.
Yes.
Sisay doesn't need JLo. Magda, sure, because Magda gets shot a lot. Kinnan doesn't need JLo.
Kennen never
Your
played JLo.
your 5+ CMC decks, sure, they want it, or 5+ CMC commanders, they want it,
Yes.
as well as your storm decks, but Rockside doesn't need JLo. Like stuff like that, your decks that are already powerful, they're powerful without that card. I
Yes.
remember there's so many times when I was playing multiple decks in the format pre-ban before JLo got hit that I would draw that card on turn 5, turn 6, and I'm like, this is useless. This is dead. All this does is trigger an Esper Sentinel.
Yeah. Um, I mean, yes, I would. I want JLo to come back because I would like to cast my Crom a little bit earlier. But it's not the end of the world if I don't get it back, if it doesn't come back. But I would like to see the card, and I think it's safe to unban.
It certainly helps your higher color decks or your like your 4, your 5, 2, and 3 color decks. Even your 3 color is kind of rough in there. Your 4
Yeah.
and your 5, 2 color decks, like it helped Itali so much. Same with Mana Crypt. We'll touch shortly on that here in a second. But it helped Itali so much. Your Talions, that Talion's entire game plan is turn one. Your Malcolm decks, Malcolm, it's still doing great. It's still performing well, but not having that turn one Malcolm so consistently hurts a lot. Then you get into some of your more fringe stuff, like your Joyra Chiros. That deck could not exist with Dockside in the format. Neither could Urza. But
I
leave
think a
Dockside
lot.
gone and give them their JLo back.
I think a lot of decks couldn't exist with Dockside in the
Dockside.
format because Dockside was just, hey, oh, you played all your mana rocks. Now I'm going to punish you.
Yeah. So I think JLo is absolutely safe to unbanned. Not even for the fact that this is the only format that it's not the only format
Technically
it's
could be
legal
played.
in, but it's the only format that you would play it in. It
Yeah.
was made for this format, give the people everything, and I think it's still good and casual. Like it was made for Commander, give it back to the Commander players. Don't take the
I,
only thing that was directly printed for us, other than free Commander spells, away from us. Don't take
I,
one of the few things that was directly printed for us away from us.
it literally says for commander in the text box. So
Yeah. We touched on it. Mana Crypt. I believe it's in the same boat. Yes, it allows for such much more explosive games, but it also allows for higher CMC spells to be cast.
the the thing and I'll make this quick. The one thing that irritated me the most when they banned Mana Crypt is they had the audacity to type an article telling us why Soul Ring is like Mana Crypt, but here's why we won't ban Soul Ring, but we'll ban Mana Crypt. That is, I
You can't ban the Pikachu of the format.
well, it's if they would have not even typed that article and just said we're banning Mana Crypt, fast mana, and not even said anything about Soul Ring, I think a lot of people would be a lot less mad and raging and getting all and threatening people and doing stupid stuff that they should never have done. And do not get me wrong. I want to say this before the end of this video. We do not condone anybody threatening anybody's life, anything. It's a card game. Chill. Just play the damn game.
Honestly, that was just sad and pathetic of the ones who did that. You're a disgrace if you
I
did.
don't want to play with you. I don't. Anybody that's threatened somebody's life over a card game, I'll pick my stuff up and go somewhere else.
You're a disgrace, and we don't want you around us.
No, you get out of the format. Go play something else.
But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's rattle it back into why we're
Yes.
here today and get on a brighter side.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone knew we had to talk about those two cards. They're the most controversial thing in the last. Sorry, not the most, but a highly controversial thing in the last
Yes.
year of CEDH. Um, Not even financially, but it's those cards should come back. At least JLo.
Yes.
But the next card is one that I think can truly survive. Yes, it feels bad in your lowers, but just throw it on the game changers list.
I don't know if it feels bad anymore. We
The card I was referring to is Leovold, Emissary of Trust. For those who don't know what this card is, it is black, green, and a blue for a legendary 3/3 Elf Advisor. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It is three colors. It's a 3 mana 3/3 legendary with 3 pips. So obviously, Save Rejoice. It is one of the two decks that this card could actually see play in, and I think the other deck is Leovold in the command zone.
yeah.
Sure, maybe play it in your Tevish Thras or something like that. But I think Leovold would be a phenomenal counter to the Ristic Study meta that we're in, the draw go meta that we're
I,
in, as well as it is very difficult to remove, especially with one of the most common removal pieces being Orcish Bowmaster. If you're going to go
yes.
remove this thing with an OBM, that means I get to draw 3 cards while you do it. You can draw a majority of your deck if they choose to target this with a Bowmaster, or if they choose to target any of your stuff. It's a protection. Okay, never mind. This card's getting a little worse. I still think it's viable because it is such a restriction in cost.
Yes.
Uh,
Um
does it belong on a game changers list for lower brackets? Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. But I do think it's still viable to get unbanned.
I think it could safely be unbanned. Moving on to the next one, it's Prophet of Kruphix. This card is a 5 CMC card. It's 3, a green and a blue. Excuse me. It's a human wizard. Untap all creatures and lands you control during each player's untap step. You may cast creature cards as though they had flash. It is a 2/3. This is strictly worse than a Seedborn Muse, in my opinion, based on
I
how we're doing, because it
don't
does
know if
not
it's
untap your.
strictly worse because it does combine two cards. Yes, it gets you the Seaborn Muse text for the same price as Seaborn Muse, actually a little more restrictive, but it also gives your creatures flash speed. That's not as important to a lot of decks, but for your Simic decks, they're typically going to be creature-based decks. Those decks are allowed to play this card. As well as notably, it doesn't. Yes, it is worse that it doesn't untap your artifacts,
And
but
enchantments, if that's relevant.
if it's relevant, like, you're cool. My survival to fit it. No, it doesn't. Survival doesn't tap. What taps? What enchantment taps?
I'm sure there's one.
I'm sure there are some as well. Um, but yeah, it doesn't untap your artifacts, which is a majority of the mana base in CEDH. And casual, sure, they play a lot more dorks and they eat a lot more lands out, but this is 5 mana and you already play Seaborn Muse. This is more restrictive to cast. It's a weaker body. It's
And it can't be hit by Kennen.
yes, and
It's a
it's a
human.
human, so it can't be flipped off a cannon. Notably, it is a wizard though, so Cavern of Souls on wizards keeps getting better. Um, Now, decks that will abuse this are your Simic decks that already play Seaborn Muse because they're already going to be creature based. They're going to be Cryptolith right. They're going to be Enduring Vitality decks.
N-
It
not
just
all,
gives them the Seaborn Muse.
not all Simic decks, because I don't think you see this in Kennen. I don't think.
I
I don't
could
think.
see a yes and a no to that. That depends on your Kinnan build. You can't
I mean,
flip it
when
off
I
of
was,
Kinnan, but you're untapping your Dorks is good. But Kinnan, most of its mana is usually produced through rocks, at least that
I,
I've been seeing recently.
I just go get my Seaborn Muse to untap my dorks.
Yeah. But like your Rock Thrash deck is gonna love this. Your Thrasios X decks that are Cryptolith right decks are gonna love this.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, but it's weaker than Seaborn Muse as far as physical body itself. You can't flip it off of some of your value pieces like Kinnan. It only gives flash speed to your creatures, which usually isn't as good as, say, a Valley Floodcaller that gives the other end of the spectrum. Um, of
And that's for
note,
3 mana.
this is the card that I learned the ban list existed. Because my first deck in Commander was a Zuri Claw of Progress, and I so wanted to put this card in there. I'm like, I get 2 Seaborn Muses, and then my buddies told me about the ban list. I
Oops.
was like, oh, shucks.
We have a
Oh,
ban
so
list in a casual format. What?
right. But once again, this card was banned in 2016. We now have more tools to remove it, and we have more powerful cards than this. So I think it would be worth the test
So
and
much
done.
more power creep.
We're moving on to our final card.
I don't know if this one could come off the ban list, because yeah, this thing's scary. It can be scary. The next card is Tinker. This is a 3 CMC spell, so it's a 2 and a blue. It's a sorcery. At any time you At the time you play Tinker, sacrifice an artifact. So any artifact could be a
as an
treasure,
additional
whatever.
as an additional
There-
cost to cast this spell,
yes,
essentially.
as an
Old
additional
word.
cost. It's weird, old verbiage, but yeah. Uh, then you may search your library for an artifact card and put that into play. Shuffle your library afterwards. This is just a better transmute artifact
It is.
for 1 more mana.
It is certainly more powerful than Transmute Artifact. It costs 1 more mana, but it is also one less pip than Transmute Artifact. That's two
Yes, there's
blue.
only one blue pit where transmutes two.
Of note, I do want to put this card's lifespan. That should give you some perspective as to when and why it was banned. This card was printed in 1999. This card was banned in 2009. We have technology. Use it.
I
Counter the
just
spell.
gotta. We have the technology to make
That
it
was the
better.
word. Use it. Counter the spell. Run interaction. Yes, this card is without a doubt better than Transmute Artifact. However, Transmute Artifact hardly sees play as it is, but that is because you have to pay the difference in it. Tivit loves it. Your Kennen decks love it. Your whatever artifact decks love
Yeah,
this card.
anybody that wants to go get you a basalt monolith really
Assault
likes it.
shoot. grinding stations, whatever combo artifact piece you got, or
Hmm.
value artifact pieces. The card's phenomenal, but I do think it would be okay to unban with the amount of interaction we have. Throw it on the game changers list. But is Transmute Artifact on the game changer list?
I don't think so.
There's so many of these cards that have counterparts
The
or carbon copies that are not on the game changer list.
the I think actually Intuition's not on the game changer list either.
I'm not sure. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know if Intuit. I'll look at it later and see if Intuition's on the game changer list. But anyway, um, Tinker also. I think the whole boogeyman with Tinker is about the time that Tinker was banned. Blight Steel Colossus has just been printed. Or I know there were some of the Colossus that was Dark Steel Colossus, and people were scared of, oh, I'm gonna sacrifice my Lotus Petal, and now I have an 11/11 Infect Beat Stick,
That's
uh,
hot.
and I'm gonna put a Blight Steel onto the board, with very little resources to do
At
so.
sorcery speed, Mr.
At
Squidward.
sor
At sorcery
at sorcery
speed.
speed, there is also an opposition agent on the board. Damn it. Um,
Yeah.
God. Anyway, that's I think that's it, guy.
Yeah.
You
I know that took a long while. We had a lot of cards, and I don't think all of these are going to come. I don't think all of these are even going to be talked about. There's like 50,
No.
60 cards on the ban list, excluding the anti cards and the conspiracy cards. I
And then the
think we
Power
might
Nine.
realistically get 5 cards off the ban list. Um,
Or I got a hot take. Nothing gets unbanned.
no, they said they're unbanning something. It's at bare minimum going to be one.
It's gonna be Coalition Victory. That's it.
I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed. I think we're the only channel up with a coalition victory win, and I'm still going to be upset. Speaking of which, go watch that video. It was funny.
You
Um,
should, you should, you should. We should put it in. Oh, over there, I guess.
uh, but before we let everyone go, we want to remind everyone that link down in the description below will be links to all of our social medias, where you can find us. Go hop on our Discord if you want to play some game with us. Give us
Yep.
some deck list recommendations that you want to play. Maybe get on the channel if you're free and we got time. As well as link down there will be future events we plan on attending. But before we let everyone go, we do want to remind everyone that link down in the description below, you'll find links to all of our social medias where you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Hop in our Discord if you want to get some games with us, chat about decks, chat about life. We got our other hobby channels in there. There's other creators channels in there. It's just a great hub to meet up with people, get some games in with us, get some games in with other people in the Discord, maybe even get you on the channel. Give us some deck list recommendations if you're tired of seeing Rock Thrash and Blue Farm every week. They're just hot and people love it. We love playing the deck, so that's why we've been throwing them up so much recently.
Yep.
As well as what we now have is an Etsy shop that will be linked down in the description below, and you can get some of our playmats that we still have left available. It's the playmats that you see us use in nearly every video. We love them. People have loved them before, and this is our last print run that we have currently of them. However, if there is more interest, we will certainly get more of them.
Yes.
Next topic will be future events we plan on attending. The next one coming up that is major will be the Land Go Invitational, Black Lotus Invitational event out in Nashville, Tennessee. That will be May 23rd through the 25th. That weekend, that is not the only tournament that's going on in that venue.
What are the time
There will
frames?
be a 10K Open that is run right alongside the Black Lotus Invitational. That
Mm-hmm.
Friday night, there's going to be tons of LCQ, last chance qualifiers to get your invite to the Invitational. The way it was explained to me was that for every 16 players, there will be a single elimination winner gets an invite to Saturday. But every 16 players. So there could be 5 more LCQs and 5 more chances to get into that invite. Or you can just go play in the open. As well as Friday night, there's going to be Friday, there's going to be a no ban list commander tournament. There's going to be bounty events on Saturday. There's going to be stuff on Sunday as well for essentially loser tournaments, is what they've been somewhat nicknamed. So go check that out. It'll be linked down in the description below. And as of now, 3 out of 4 of our double sleeve members are qualified, and Taylor is working on getting his. So, and he'll, whether he gets or not, he might be out there. So come see us all.
One more thing. Actually, I heard the rumor. I know this person is very difficult getting a signature from, but the artist that drew Timna I've heard rumor that she's actually gonna be at this event. So if you're looking for a signature, uh, that might be your place to get it. I know
I've
I'm gonna go get my Timna signed.
I've never heard of her being at another event, but we also haven't been in this community for very long.
So yeah, and I've been looking to get a signature from her for a while. So I really hope she's there. So
Of note of that, Snowballing, one of our good friends, has been on channel a couple of times, and he's in our Discord if you want to chat him up.
I'm trying to point at the thing in the ice mat. I can't do it. I don't know.
Oh, you're trying to point at my
I'm
thing
trying
in
to
the
point at the thing in the ice mat. Yeah,
yeah,
he
my
drew.
thing in the ice mat right there.
Yeah.
He drew that for those guys. Speaking of which, go check their channel out. A great group of guys up there. But yeah,
Anything else?
Snowballing is the artist that drew the playmat for. Yeah, he also did the hashtag mat that Seth has
Yeah.
pointed to. But he drew the playmat for this event. You'll see it on screen right now. I'll throw it over here.
Yep, we'll put it.
Fantastic artist, fantastic dude. Love playing with him. If you get a chance to meet him, come out and say hey to him and thank him for the work he's doing in the community. He's an up and coming artist. After
And
that, sorry, go ahead.
oh, one more thing about that mat. These mat is a limited print run, so they are numbered. There will also be a link to those mats in the description below. Just know this mat is actually to help fund the expo. So buying these mats can potentially lead to doing more events. So if you love doing CEH events, pick one of these mats up and knowing that you're going to be able to give back to the community and potentially allow for more of these events to be put on. Because I mean, we need these events to keep the format going.
Yeah. I spoke with one of the TOs, one of the event coordinators of Land Go, and he was explaining to me the plans they have for the future of this series. There's going to be a summer series. It's essentially going to work like the RCQ season for you 60 card players. That will lead up into another invitational for the 2025 to 2026 series, as
Yep.
they did for the one we're going to the invitational for now. But they have a long plan of just growth and development for this series, and they're becoming a household name in the community. And we are excited to put our names behind them and help them grow as much as we can.
Oh,
Next
they're
tournament,
really
that large tournament we're planning on going to is the Steel City Spectacular 20K. And fan favorite judge, Baldy, will be up there. He will be the head judge. I believe he will be the head judge up there. This is the largest prize pool in the CEDH history that I'm aware of, a 20K tournament,
This
as
is
well as
bigger
this
than
will
the
be
boil.
ran, yes, larger than the Boil, as well as this will be ran right alongside the Top Deck Invitational. So those two events will be going on right alongside each other in the same venue.
That's
Uh,
pretty cool.
Come out, show your support. We will be up there. We have a group that's planning on going up there, and we're excited to go up there. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Those links will be down in the description below.
All right, guys. Well, that's all for us, and we'll see you next time.